Hey everybody, I'm Bella Deadwood, and welcome to part 5 of 6 in the 2015 Halloween special, where there are going to be 5 creepy encounter stories for you to enjoy. When I was a young man in high school, I used to be a part of marching band, and I loved every minute of it. The crowds cheering, the routine, everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue doing it as my body couldn't handle the heat and strain. However, there was a particular occurrence that has haunted me to this day. It was a Friday night. We marched in with our usual cadence, and I noticed something strange. There was an older man looking right at me. He was a little overweight and was balding with large square glasses. He was a little ways away from where the band was sitting, and initially, I didn't notice until my friend said to me, "Hey, is that your grandfather?" The man would look at me for a few seconds before turning back toward the game. I tried to brush it off, as there was always a freak or two every so often at these games. It was soon halftime, and my bandmates and I headed to the field with our gear in tow. Now, at halftime, the two opposing bands take turns doing their routines, so we were given time to set up. As I put on my instrument strap on, since I played the sousaphone, I saw the man again. Only this time he was at the front of the bleachers and leaning against the front railing, just looking at me. At this point, I was beginning to become unnerved and a little freaked out. But I kept it to myself and warmed up with my bandmates before heading out to the field. The show went without a hitch, and I felt we had done an amazing job as the crowd roared in praise of our performance, making me forget all about the strange man who had been staring at me. As we made our way back to the stands, I was beginning to head up the bleachers when I felt a hand on my back. I turned to face whoever was giving me a pat on the back. There he was with those glasses, only now I could see his eyes behind them, dull and unmoving, and staring directly at me. I was frozen, and I couldn't move, as if waiting for him to do something. But all he did was say, "Good job, son. Good job." After that, he walked away. I would later tell my mom what happened, and when I did, I saw her eyes widen, and she told me that after the game I should meet her at her car right away. It was during the drive back that I learned who that man was. You see, my parents are divorced because my mother was abused and mistreated by my father, and after a lengthy custody trial, my mom won. It was granted a restraining order against my father. Recently, my father has been trying to see me and my brother for years, and instead, he uses his father, who's my grandfather, to get near me. So, to my grandfather who stalked me that football game, let's never, ever meet again. Just to describe myself, I am Italian and Mexican, so I have thick, wavy, dark, and very long hair. Anyway, I go to the gym every morning and never take my earbuds out because I don't go to socialize. Just strictly get my workout done, get a massage, and go home. I was almost finished and went to the 30-minute workout room to get a quick ab workout done, and I see this man making a signal for me to take out my earbuds. I thought maybe he knew my dad or my late grandfather. He was a well-known minister in my state, which is not uncommon for people to ask me. I get up, take out my earbuds, and say hello. He smiled a very sinister smile and said, "You have the most beautiful hair I've ever seen." I say, "Well, thank you very much. Have a great day," as politely as I can, and try to get past this man, thinking he will let me leave. Nope. He grabs my arm and whispers, "Can I cut off a little bit to sleep with at night?" I'm weirded out to the max and take a moment to take off to the women's locker room. I wait for about 20 minutes because I'm shaking so bad and don't know what to do. I eventually grow my balls back and peek out the opening. I don't see him, so I go to the front desk and explain the situation to the manager. He said the man was standing by the water fountains for about 10 minutes, and the water fountains are by the locker room. Then he came to the front desk to sign up for a massage chair and bed. He told me when I was ready, he would walk me to my car and make sure I was long gone before they'd let the man leave. He said he'd talk to him and keep him busy. I thanked him and left immediately. I don't go to the gym by myself anymore. I make my dad go with me, or I go with my guy friends. I haven't seen him since, but I feel that as soon as I let my guard down and go alone, I'll see him again. This bizarre story happened to me at the drive-thru of a KFC maybe 10 years ago. I was waiting in a long line on a really hot summer day, windows down in a car with no AC. The pickup window was around the back of the building, but the line wrapped around the side, so from where I was, I had a direct view of the front doors. I was also meeting up with my brother, his girlfriend, and another friend, and they were further up in the same line. As I'm sitting there, this guy comes out the doors, large bags of food in both hands, big fat belly, not like morbidly obese, just a big dude in general. He's walking in my general direction, and I notice how disheveled he looks as he's coming closer. Ragged, patchy hair and stubble, droopy sweatpants, a dirty stained t-shirt just covered in food stains, and a dark strip of yuck down his chest, and of course, drenched in sweat. At this point, I'm staring a bit and he notices me, locks eyes, and starts heading towards my car. I'm getting a little concerned now, but I'm just transfixed watching this mess shambling towards me. He finally gets close to the car, and close up, it's just as bad. His skin is blotchy red, his eyes yellow and cloudy, dripping sweat and gasping for each breath. Now, I'm not really afraid of this guy, just kind of dumbfounded and wondering what he could want from me. He was a wreck, but pretty clearly not homeless, and probably had about $50 of food in his hands. When he spoke, it was beyond anything I could have expected. With the voice that sounded like the Edgar character from Men in Black, through an esophagus coated in chicken grease, he says, "If I give you $5, will you jump on my stomach?" My brain explodes and all I can muster is, what? I'll give you $5 and lay down over there and you jump on my stomach, okay? No, man. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. To which he simply huffed and walked away. I think he got into a car, but I'm not sure really. I went and got my food in a daze thinking, what the fuck just happened? And pulled around to the parking lot where my brother was waiting. Hey, what were you talking to that weird guy about? Just for context, I'm a female college student and I live on campus. My roommate is studying abroad for this week, so I've been alone for a few days. The first few days have been fine, but then last night happened. I'm sincerely glad that I've been binge reading stories when I procrastinate, because I do take people's advice to heart. Last night, I woke up to the sound of someone trying to key into my room. In a sleepy state, I figured it was my roommate coming back from the bathroom. That's when I remembered she's not even in the country right now. I froze in my bed. Then I thought, maybe it's the morning and maintenance is here. Our building has been having bug problems, so I thought maybe they're here to check. So if I make it obvious I'm still asleep, then they'll open the door and see me and leave me alone. But there's no way in hell I'm opening the door when I'm alone in this room without knowing who it is first. That's when I hear an unfamiliar male's voice saying, "Let me in." I waited, and he continued to jiggle his key in the door for a few more minutes before going quiet. I figured it was someone's boyfriend at the wrong door and fell back asleep soon after. Turns out, this guy went to a lot more girls' doors trying the door handles and saying, "Let me in." Finally, one of my neighbors called the police while her roommate called the RA phone number. However, he managed to get into a girl's room who left her door unlocked. Thankfully, she woke up, screamed, and yelled at him to leave. He left and was eventually caught and taken by the police. I learned all of this morning when my neighbor filled me in on the details. My door was open, and that's when I saw the guy walk into the hallway, make eye contact with me, and then walk off. The girl saw my face and ran after him. He was knocking on the same door that was unlocked last night, but she wasn't home, so my neighbor told him that, and he left. I'm so thankful to people who shared their stories and reminded people to be careful when someone comes knocking late at night. So, let me start this off with a little background information. I'm a female, 4'11", and weigh about 105 pounds. I work in a daycare with toddlers, and I was 23 years old at the time of this incident. Okay, so last October, I was working closing shift at the daycare and had one child left. His dad was running late, again, and my coworker was annoyed as usual, so I let her go home, because there was no point of the two of us sitting there for one kid, and she always has something to do on a Friday night. Once she leaves, I go around closing the building up and grab the little boy's belongings along with the sign-out sheet, set the alarm, and left the building, which is something I regret to this day. I set the little boy on the bench outside and I sit next to him. Now, our center closes at 6, and it was 6:15 by now, and the both of us were getting restless. I usually let this dad slide because he's a single father and a friend of mine who's trying to raise a child who's severely autistic. So the little boy and I sit and wait. I do most of the talking since he can't, and look out at the parking lot. My work is in a historical neighborhood. The town was built in the 1700s, and there's a church behind our center and 2 graveyards on either side of us. The church usually hosts those meetings for recovering drug addicts and alcoholics. My boyfriend at the time was really annoyed by that because he thought that they shouldn't do that during school hours. But I was okay with it. I had a few family members that dealt with addiction and one who passed away from it. So I knew the demons that came from it and what it could do to a person. The rest of the town had old houses made from stones and a few log cabins. It was beautiful during the fall, and it always had a spooky feeling to it. In fact, the daycare was actually one of the houses that was used for the ghost tour. But this story has nothing to do with specters or ghouls. Oh no. So it's 6:30 by now, and by now the kid is crying. So I sit him in my lap and start singing "This Is Halloween" because he's currently obsessed with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Luckily, the kid starts to calm down, but as I get to the middle of the song, I notice that someone has started singing with me. And I know it's not the kid because he's nonverbal. And then I hear a voice ask me, "Why'd you stop singing?" There was a pause. "I like that song. Why'd you stop?" For some reason, it sounded angry. My heart stopped beating and I turned my head and noticed that there is someone standing on the other side of the building, and whoever it was had been peeking over at us the whole time. I pick up the kid and I hold on to him tightly as my face turns red. This person steps from the corner and I finally get a good look at him. He's one of the old men that attends those meetings. He is disheveled looking, always is, and he is thin as a rail. Most of his hair is gone, but what he has left is fashioned into this mullet-looking thing. "You stopped singing. The kid liked your singing. Look at him. He's gonna cry." I take a deep breath and for some reason decide to actually engage this guy. "This is private property," I tell him. "You're not supposed to be here." My voice sounded small and pretty much gave away my fear. The man thinks this is funny, laughs, and mimics me in the way a child would. He's just standing there, and I take off my lanyard that has the key to get back into the building while I back up to the door. "Come on, little birdie," he says. "Please sing." Now, there was I would say, 10-foot space between me and this man, and he was making no movements to come towards us. It was like he was just playing around with me. I had almost gotten my key in the door when the little boy's dad pulled into the parking lot. I felt relief wash through me as the dad got out of the truck and started over towards us. He had his eyes on the creepy man, and the creepy man looked disappointed. He looked over at me and sighed. "Well, I guess I'll see you around, Birdie." He rounds the corner and starts over to the church, and I look over to see the little boy's dad on the porch. I burst into tears and start apologizing, telling him what happened and everything about that man. And the little boy's dad is trying his best to calm me down. I've ridden my bike to work that day, since my house is a block away, and he offered to drive me home. I called my boss that night, and while she was annoyed that we were waiting outside and I let my coworker go home, she was happy that I was safe. I still work at the same daycare, but the church isn't allowed to hold their meetings on the grounds anymore, and I haven't seen that creepy guy since. Hey everybody, I'm Bella Deadwood, and thank you for watching this video. So tomorrow is the big day, Halloween. It's also the last day of the Halloween specials. I will have a regular upload on Sunday though, so I guess you could consider that part of it. Before I leave you with your nightmares, guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been so supportive during the special, and everyone that has told me how I can make these videos better. I really appreciate it, and I know I said thank you last time, but I feel like I should say it again, just so you know it doesn't go unnoticed. Anyways, guys, I'll see you on Halloween. Have a good night.